What if conveying fear in water could unlock transformation in every area of your life? Each day, adults step into pools carrying not just swimming anxiety, but the weight of self doubt that holds them back on dry land. That's deep, right? Through innovative aquatic education, these same individuals emerge with newfound confidence that ripples into their careers, relationship, and personal growth. Today, we explore how learning to swim becomes a powerful catalyst for life changing personal development and social impact. All right, Cori, thank you for being my guest today. I cannot wait to hear all the things that you have to say about swimming and how swimming is a catalyst to basically transforming your life. And as someone who can't really swim, like I've tried to teach myself on my 50th birthday, I did try to teach myself how to swim. And I felt so accomplished after being able to float and make a few strokes in the water. I really, really am interested in hearing this conversation today. So, Cori, can you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what your cocktail is?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me just say, great job. Amazing. What an amazing gift to your givers gift to give yourself. I love it. I love it so much. And that's really, what it's about. It's swimming is something that learning to swim as an adult, I should say, is something that we don't have to do, but it is so many people come to us, what we're all about is teaching adults how to overcome fear and to be able to feel calm confidence in deep water. And one way to keep yourself safe in the water is just to never go around it. And,
True.
but there's like this longing and missing out kind of feeling that so many people have. We have such a love of water. It's very innate to the human nature because we need water to survive. So there's an attractiveness to water that we have. And so there's an inherent conflict there of this attractiveness to the beauty of water. And we also know people lose their lives in it. So there's a naturalness of fear around it as well. So that's why we find it's such a beautiful place to explore all the things, having joy for learning and overcoming fear. It's, the things that life is made up of.
Yeah. Joy and fear. Yes, definitely.
How do we have them both?
Right. So tell us, how did you decide to get started in this specific, I'll call it therapy, right? How did you get started? What is your background, your experience? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, we oftentimes do say we're like, we're not therapists, but it's a therapeutic environment for sure. Right. There's a lot of internal beliefs that are hugely shifted, a lot of tears that sometimes happen, and big pivotal aha moments that people have. But I did not start there. I started my true, I think, origin story around teaching adults to swim is way back when I was 5 years old. We went on a houseboat trip, a family houseboating trip on Lake Powell. And my aunt at the time, she didn't want to get in the water. It was so, so hot. We were in this place that Lake Powell has these beautiful rock formations in the desert, and they just heat up all day in the sun. So it's like 100 degrees all day, and these rocks heat up. And then at night, it's like an oven. The heat radiates off of these rocks at night. So the water is just the only place to cool down. And my poor aunt, she's just there on the boat, not able to get in. And little 5-year-old me, it's okay, Auntie. I'll teach you how to swim. Right? I can do it. I'll keep you safe. But so there's that. And then I just always had a love of the water. I never, even though I never finished a swimming lesson.
Mm.
And that was, not my about my love of the water. That was about my distrust of the teachers and distrust of a format and a place that they were pushing me and asking me to do things that I wasn't ready to do.
Okay.
They would do things like swim out to me. And I'd say, okay, well, don't step back. Okay. And then they step
Step
back.
back.
Like, what the heck?
I see it all the time. Yep.
Yeah. And they're like, no, because we know you can do more. It's our job to push you. And I'm like, yeah, and it's my job to say, I know me. You just lied to me. I'm not having any part of that.
Right. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's like our big thing. Then fast forward, I kept being around the water, was teaching swimming. That was my summer job all through high school and college.
So you didn't finish swimming classes, but now you're teaching swimming.
But now I'm teaching swimming. Yeah.
Okay.
The kind of piece, the in-between piece in there is I still loved it. And I'd tell my mom, I'd say, Mom, here's the day. I'll tell you the story. I'd look up in the phone book, the big old thick phone book, pull the phone book.
Yes,
look
I'm
up,
familiar.
Yeah. Find the phone number for the local pool, call them up, find out, okay, the public swim time is at 3:00. It's 50 cents. And, I'd find my 50 cents and tell my mom to drop me off at the pool. And she dropped me off at the pool.
Okay.
And I went and did my own thing. I played a game I called Lost in Outer Space. I went to a very private area of the pool, away from like the busyness of the loud, splashy, pushy kids, and find a place that was kind of near the lifeguard. They could see me. And I just, at that time, when I was a kid, it was, space age stuff was really a big thing. So I just went in and I played games. What if I do this? And what if I do that? What happens? And I figured out how the water worked and how my body in the water worked in a way that was safe and trustworthy for me. And then I did tell my mom, I said, well, I want to join the swim team. And she said, well, do you know how to swim?
Right.
Like, sure, of course.
Yeah.
And which I do find sort of ironic looking back at the story. I'm like,
right, because she was giving you that, dropping you off at the pool, but she didn't know if you could swim. Yeah, and that's some trust.
That's some trust. I think that's that, that mama love, like, oh, mom's tired.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can let those lifeguards take care of you for an hour. That we can go with that 50 cents of childcare. I'm a mom too. I can, these things
kind of relate. Okay.
But so I joined swim team, and that's how I learned how to do strokes, but in formal swimming. But again, it was really, I don't know if you've heard of through theme here. It was on my terms and in a way that was safe and trustworthy for me. And so when I started teaching adults to swim, because I just kept hanging around the pool and became a lifeguard and a swim teacher with the community center and that sort of thing, I was not the swim teacher who backed up when the kids told me not to back up. I knew that. But when I started teaching adults, I could get them to swim across the pool, and I'd say, how was it? And they'd have this like deer in the headlights look and say, I have no idea. And I thought, okay, what's missing here? And that's where I started getting really interested in how teaching works and how teaching the adult brain works. And I think it's really tapping into my own story of knowing it's not doing what people tell you to do. It's learning to have trust and discovery in yourself. And so that's where I shifted our teaching, and that's where I found, this is a whole special magic. And this is a whole special thing that goes way beyond the pool.
Right.
has come.
And to be honest, what you're saying kind of resonates with me because I have wanted to go to formal swimming classes, but I have been to swim lessons when my kids were younger and saw them doing that. And it was frustrating for my daughter. I actually had to take her out of swimming classes because of that same thing, where it became where she did not trust the swim instructors anymore. And she was like, they're going to make me drown. And that's all she could say. So she was just like, I don't want to go anymore. So even though I really wanted her to learn how to swim then, she just was not in the headspace and just did not trust the swim instructors to be able to save her if something should happen. Right. And she's like, they're distracted, even though it's supposed to be one-on-one, they're still distracted with other swimmers. And she just did not feel safe. And me as an adult, I have thought about going to swimming lessons, but for the same reason, I have chosen not to go because I'm just like, I'm okay with being pushed outside my comfort zone. But if I tell you stop, I need some time to adjust. I need you to give me that time, and not make me feel inadequate because I'm not comfortable putting my ears under the water to balance myself because, oh my God, wait, that's scary for me. Don't tell me to let go when I'm not ready to let go because I'm going to panic because the biggest fear for me is drowning. So, and I wish a lot of swim instructors would learn that, especially with adult learners. Our biggest fear is that we're going to die. Okay. That's
and it should be because you're smart and people do die.
Yeah, that is literally our biggest fear. We're not going to go back home to our kids, our family, whoever it is. And little kids, I'm sure that's how they feel too, but we're better at verbalizing it. And the fear is more palpable for us.
Yeah.
Because there are people depending on us. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you as an adult, I mean, what's different with children and adults have the ability to think about the future and remember from the past. And so, and there's benefits to that and there's drawbacks to that.
Yeah.
But, you have that piece of like, yeah, I'm thinking this isn't a good idea. And children, they don't have that as much. And so this is the place where we, the universal we of adults, can push children into things that we look at that bigger picture and like, I know you're going to be okay on the other side of it. But there's a lot of kids like myself, like your daughter, who get it earlier of like, hang on, there's some situations in the world I'm not ready to just put my kid brain on to let other people be responsible. I know I have a certain responsibility to me.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so different. Like my son just taught himself how to swim. We went to the beach. He just taught himself how to swim. He didn't have that fear. My daughter. So like for me, I was telling you about my 50th birthday. So like for my entire adulthood, I have not been able to swim. As a matter of fact, as much as I love the water, and I like being by the water, it's very recharging for me. I try to stay out of the water because I can't swim, right? And sometimes you don't want to be in the shallow section because you're like, everybody's over there playing and you're like, no, I can't come over, right? So for my 50th birthday, I went to the Seychelles, right? And the Airbnb that I rented had a pool. So on the days that I was there for 7 days. Every day I would go in the pool and I say, when you were a kid, you knew how to swim. I knew how to swim, right? But you know how when you go to the beach or you go to the pond or wherever you're going, lake, kids tend to like to play around. Right. And they play these dunking games where they push you under the water and, you're thrashing around and you're like, that's a sign to let me go. Right. But kids tend to take things a little bit too far sometimes. And so I started breathing and drinking water. And that developed such a fear in me. I don't think I ever went back into the water for like years after because I did not trust my cousins anymore. at least not in the water,
Mm-hmm.
because and when I got out, they couldn't even understand why I was mad, right? And I think I was sick for days after because I had drunk so much salt water, right? And now, as an adult, I know that I could have died because there is something called dry drowning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's thankfully that did not happen, but it could have happened. And I have just determined I can't swim anymore. So on my 50th birthday, like I said, I was in the pool every day, and it was just me, right? That my brothers were inside or whatever, but for the most part, it was just me in the pool. And I was like, okay, this is a great way. It's only 5 feet and I'm 5'7". So I got 7 inches, but it's hard to drown, right? Yeah, I got about 7 inches. It's hard to drown. But I'm going to try to at least be able to float, and I'm going to try to at least be able to make some strokes. And I worked at it every single day. I'm like, I have to get over the fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fear that was keeping me bondage, right? And I was able to do a little thing. So I was able to float a little bit. It was still terrifying. I'm not going to say I got over the fear completely, but just being able to lay back and float a little bit was like, oh and then being able to go from one side of the pool to the next without my feet touching the ground, like, doggy paddling. I thought
Mm-hmm.
I had won the prize. Like, what? That was amazing. So I can understand. It made me feel so free. It made me feel like I had accomplished like the biggest prize ever, just being able to get over that initial fear of, because before I would not have done that. I would have just sat on the steps of the pool and that would have been it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I get where the transformative effect comes from.
I love it. I love hearing this because I'm like, yep. This is
Yeah.
why I do what I do every day. Is this like
Mhm.
smile and that feeling, and it is
Yeah,
amazing.
it
And
is. It really, really is.
I love how you started it with that little piece of knowing there was a swimmer in you,
Mhm.
right? That you're like, when you were a kid, you did know how to do this. And that
Mhm.
is so helpful right there, that having just that, a belief, a place of belief,
Mhm.
and being able to identify, well, there was a difference between, I did know to do the swimming thing. And actually, maybe the real problem was those cousins, who were kids, you lovingly gave
Yeah.
them like some space. They were kids. Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
But that was really a big impetus of the problem. And then you
Mhm.
took care of it. You
Mhm.
created this safe space for you to be able to tap into the swimmer that you are.
Mhm.
So that is, in a nutshell, what we're working on with people, and what we're helping people with is
Yeah.
giving them that permission to find that space, to create
Mhm.
that space, so you can discover the amazingness that you are.
Yeah. And for me, being able to do it on my terms
Mm-hmm.
by myself makes me feel a lot more confident about actually going to get some serious swimming lessons now. Before, you could not get me to go to swimming class. I would constantly say, I need to go. I know I need to go. I should go. But the fear of them not allowing me to move at my own pace, because you're buying packages like when you go to the Y and you got to be there for a certain amount of time, blah, blah. It's like very structured. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I don't know if this is going to work. So I've completely avoided it. But now I think I can confidently go into a swim lesson and not be as fearful about what the outcome would be, and
Yeah.
not feeling like I would be wasting my money either. you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what we have found for folks, and how we're different, is
Mhm.
most swimming lessons you reference, I'll just say, a community center place.
Right.
um, so the general community center lessons, their real focus is to teach people how to do lap swimming activities. So how to go back
Oh,
and forth up and down the pool.
okay.
And so,
I'm
because
not
it's
even
in that,
interested
like,
in that.
yeah, that sport mindset, right? You're
Okay.
coming in to learn to do a sport.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
but what's missing, and some people come in ready at that stage, that they're
mhm,
ready for that stage. I mean, it's kind of like if you go to a soccer field and you already know how to run and jump and hop and skip and all those kinds of things, then you're ready to learn soccer. You're ready to
Right.
learn sport. But if you don't know how to run and jump and hop and skip, you're not really ready to learn soccer yet. So those kinds of programs are set up to teach people the sport part of it.
Gotcha.
And so that is exact. So it's that piece where you notice you're like, I'm not sure that it would be the right place for me to start there, because they're not really starting with the foundational pieces that you still needed, that fear piece, the trust piece. How does my body in the water work? Having the time and space to develop an understanding of the foundational things. That is a different kind of conversation. And so that's the part that you gave yourself. And I love that you figured it out too. We actually do, we teach online too. We have an online swimming program, which people are like, what? Learn to swim online?
Yeah. How do you learn to swim online?
Well, but we could ask you the same question. How did you learn to swim without somebody teaching you? Right?
Getting over the fear.
Yeah. You were using some tools of getting over the fear. You set yourself up with this permission of time and space. So our online programming is really kind of going through and giving you, like, here are some things that you can do. Here's how you deal with the mental side of things. Here's how you construct a space for yourself to be able to learn. And then we deconstruct some very basic all the way to very advanced, but very basic. You had mentioned water in your ears. Like, I teach about that and give that information, and people can have that understanding. And I teach you, if water in your ears is a thing, here are some little steps to start to discover water in your ears and to understand it. And so you can be like, oh, I thought I had to just like slam my ear in the water, Oh, you mean I can take some baby steps in between? Okay, good. Thank you. So that's yeah. And so people.
Okay.
Really
So the online portion is basically mindset shifting.
It's a big piece.
A lot of mindset work.
We call it the foundation of change. 2 steps mental to 1 step physical. So it's mindset things, and then a tiny physical step that you choose, and you go, yeah, I'm ready for that physical step. Not that physical step, but halfway to that physical step. I'm ready for that, right? We give you an ability to be able to choose and see, yeah, that one. Or, yes, I'm going to do that physical step. All right, that was too easy. Great. Okay. Go for the next one then. So you get to choose your own adventure, so to speak.
Okay. And so how do they actually get to the swimming component?
Yeah, so that's part of it. There's the mental steps, and then we do things like the first exercise that we have people do, you probably did this. I bet you made this up yourself, which is to get into the water in a depth that feels 100% safe, right? I know I can get air anytime I want. And then we do a walking exercise, just walking, right? Did you start with that?
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm also guessing that you started with the walking in a more mindful way than maybe you did if you were at a swimming party or something. If you were at some sort of public swimming event, you might have been walking like, okay, nobody come over here. I need to really be paying attention outside of myself, because you're watching out for that danger, as you should be, but you're kind of outside of yourself, versus at this beautiful spot that you created for yourself, the Airbnb, you're like, no, okay, I'm going to do some walking, but I get to check in here. I get to be with myself in the walking. I get to notice what my brain is doing and help my brain settle down. So it's a different type of walking that is really a paying attention kind of walking.
Okay. And then from there, they move through different steps. Okay.
Piece. Yeah.
So they would either have to do it, they would either have to have a pool of their own, or be able to go to a pool and practice the various steps. Okay.
Yeah. This is where the community center pool is good, because they're lifeguarded. They have the, amenities. They have the, that sort of thing.
This is a novel concept. I'm very intrigued. about learning to swim online. That's like that's really, really different, right?
Yeah.
But I can see, because I think I said it myself in my own story. It was about building the confidence. I needed the confidence to do what I was doing. It wasn't really about the physical aspect of it for me. It was about the confidence and overcoming that fear of drowning.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
that was the biggest thing. The confidence that I can actually do it, and I needed to overcome the fear of drowning.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I get it, how it, it being online, because I think that may be most people's um issues.
Yeah, for sure. And I think really you again, you said it with your own, you had to do it in your space, on
My
your
time.
terms, your time, your space, your terms, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that is a big thing, especially
Mhm.
for anybody who has fear, right? For somebody else to impose their timeline,
Mhm.
their, strict way of doing things, their expectations, that's all about them. This is
Mhm.
about your transformation, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, you had that pivotal moment of being 50, like, all right, what transformation do I want to step into?
Yeah.
And
It
how am
was
I
time.
going to do it? Mhm. Yeah.
It was time. It was
Uh-huh.
definitely time.
So
So one of the other things that we talked about was the ripple effect that it has on people's careers, relationship, and growth. Are there any stories that you can tell us? Like, how does this translate what we're talking about into people's everyday lives? Right, because
mhm.
that's where the true impact becomes. The personal, there's of course, I think it's layered. So you have the personal impact where you're like, oh my God, I actually did this, the big win, right? For yourself. And then how does that ripple out into their lives, their careers, their relationships?
Mhm, mhm. The first thing that pops into my mind is I remember a student coming in. We're halfway through the class, and she comes in. She's like, "I broke up with him."
Oh, wow.
Like my own like self confidence, like listening to myself. I'm done. I'm done with
Mhm.
that one.
Wow.
you know,
Okay.
I mean, there's like big things like that that come in.
Mhm.
There's such a ripple effect in terms of when you learn to trust yourself and to be your own self advocate.
Mhm.
Right. How many other areas in our lives do we have that where that is so useful and powerful? And to
Mhm.
see, I mean, many things in life, we act as if and we feel as if we're going to die if we, ask our partner to do something, if we
Mhm.
stand up for ourselves, if we say no to something, if all of these kinds of things, people pleasing, right? We're trying to do things for other people. But when we learn how to listen to ourselves and find out when I say yes, when I mean yes, and when I say no, when I mean no, and I don't
Mhm.
die, this is good.
Yeah.
And so we can take those into other places in our lives. Um, I know um, it's things like even grounding into I know a big area that I've talked with people about is going to medical appointments.
Mhm.
That there's this like perceived, I have to do what I'm told to do, right?
Oh
And
my
it's like
gosh.
I'm in their
Tell me
arena.
about that.
And but when we start to say, wait, no, I'm the advocate for my own body.
Mhm.
And it's for me to have this relationship with my own body. And the advice that you're giving me, dear doctor, medical provider, whatever, society
Mhm.
who tells me I have to do XYZ,
Mhm.
um, it's an opinion, really.
Right? Mhm.
And I get to then come in and quietly look to myself and to see, is that a yes for me or not?
Mhm.
And we get to live with whatever the
The
consequences of
consequences
that.
are. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I do see I do see it. It builds up a certain amount of self-confidence within yourself and trust within yourself. You can trust your own self, because sometimes we doubt ourselves and we look for validation in other places and other spaces. And I can see how being able to teach yourself a new skill. I think that's where it lies, in the ability to teach yourself a new skill that probably crippled you in fear before. On your own, it's going to be so validating to you that you just are like, oh, well, if I could do this, then I could do that, right?
Mhm.
And it opens up Pandora's box in a good way. Yeah,
Yes.
in a
In a
good
very good
way.
way. Yeah.
So, this is a fascinating story, and it is a fascinating concept. And I think a lot, just swimming, imagine just swimming, transforming your entire life and learning how to swim online. That is, yeah, that's different, but I get it.
Yeah.
You broke it down and I totally understand. And I hope the audience understands it as well. So, um, if you were to leave us with three things, someone who wants to swim, someone who wants to overcome something in their lives, whatever it may be, that is that fear factor for them, what would be those three things?
Yes. So I would say the first thing is it's okay to stop and feel. Feel the fear, feel the desire, feel whatever it is you're feeling, because that's where the information lies. And it's in running away from feeling these things that it ends up having this power and control over us. We tend to not want to sit in our feelings because we think we're going to be overwhelmed by them. I always tell people, I'm like, are you ever worried that you're going to start laughing and that you're never going to stop? Right? This doesn't happen. We know if we let ourselves fall into joy that we're going to experience joy, and then it's going to go away. It's going to move through us. And when we let ourselves experience our feelings, really, truly just let ourselves have it, that it can move through us. Mm-hmm. And then I think the second part that comes with that is to bring curiosity then. Mm-hmm. Not shame and blame, but curiosity, like, well, I do feel fearful. I wonder why, and like in your own story, it gave you access to that piece of, it was those cousins that were, thinking they were playing a fun game.
Well, we're really close now, though.
Yeah. So it gave some space around your story, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think the third piece is that it's okay to trust your inner wisdom. And it's there. Like, lean into that inner wisdom. Mm-hmm. We get so many messages in the world to trust something external to us, but we were all made in a perfect way. And our uniqueness and our own dipping into our trustworthy self is very powerful, and it's needed for ourselves and the world. So.
Okay, that's good. So what would you say makes you an impactor?
I think what makes me an impactor is really, truly believing in people and believing in their abilities, believing in things, the power that people have, without seeing the evidence of it yet. I believe in these people as swimmers and other things, but, just in this arena particularly, right. Even though there's no evidence to it yet. But I believe in it for them until they're believing in it for themselves. And that creates, a big change.
Awesome. I love that. How can the audience get in contact with you? And I guess if they need to learn how to swim and are willing to do it online, how can they do that as well?
Yeah. So our website is adultswimlesson.com. So Adult Swim Lesson, that's where you can see our retreats. We do retreat classes as well. Okay. And then get in touch with the online classes. So depending on what people are up for. You can also find us in the socials with Calm Within Adult Swim.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your story. And again, I'm gonna keep saying, because it is a unique concept, and I actually love it because I do see, because just going through my own story and then listening to the things that you're saying, I was like, that's exactly what happened,
Mhm.
you know? And I still have a long way to go because I'm still not a confident swimmer. I
Mhm.
just know now that if I go into a pool, I'm probably not going to drown, because I would be fighting for my life and the fear factor won't kick in and make me go under. It would actually kick in and at least allow me to float, if
Mhm.
nothing else. Even
That's a big
though
thing.
I can't get water in my ear, I'll be getting water in my ear that day. But yes, thank you so much, Cori, for joining us again here on Impactors Out Loud. And we'll see you next time, guys. Bye bye.